School leaders in our pledges. Would Shruti Jayakumar and Aliza Lakani come up? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of Texas. On its flag, I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you so much. And would their parents stand up, please, if you're in the audience? Thank you so much. We would like to take a minute to pay respect to all veterans for their service to our country. In addition, we would like to read the names of our students who gave their lives in protections of our freedom. After the names are read, please join me in a moment of silence in honor of them. Second Lieutenant Sam O. Painter, 1938 Lewisville High School graduate.
Private Isaac V. Johnson, Jr., 1942 Lewisville High School graduate.
First Lieutenant Barty Ray Brooks, 1948 Lewisville High School graduate.
First Lieutenant Wallace B. Travelstead, 1949 Lewisville High School graduate.
Lance Corporal James Edward Huckabee, 1965 Lewisville High School graduate.
Lance Corporal Albert G. Haddad, Jr., 1986 Lewisville High School graduate.
Major Matthew W. Worrell, 1990 Lewisville High School graduate.
Lance Corporal Jacob Raul Lugo, 2001 Marcus High School graduate.
Specialist Ryan Michael McCauley, 2002 Lewisville High School graduate.
Private Aaron Hudson, 2002 Marcus High School graduate.
Sergeant Enrique Mondragon, 2008 The Colony High School graduate.
Specialist Philip C.S. Schiller, 2010 The Colony High School graduate.
We will now have a moment of silence. Thank you all so much for letting us take that time to honor.
Madam President?
Yes.
Would we honor our veterans that are here in the audience today,
Do we
please,
have
as well?
any veterans in our audience? If you would, please stand up. Wow. Thank you so much. I think we were all reminded today as we went around to the different schools that freedom isn't free, and the service you've provided to our country, we will forever be grateful. So thank you. Welcome to all. Meetings of the board are open to the public, but are not meetings of the board, or meetings of the public. The Lewisville ISD Board of Trustees meets monthly to receive reports from staff and take action on recommendations from the superintendent. The board receives the agenda and all supporting documentation 10 days in advance of these regular meetings, which allows us to ask and receive answers to many of our questions. In addition, the board also meets in regularly scheduled workshops and work sessions where staff discussions and presentations are given for many of the agenda items. This protocol means lengthy discussion or a litany of questions on every agenda item often is not necessary, and as a board, we should have appropriate knowledge and preparation for responses regarding the content of our meeting tonight. First up on our agenda, considering action on items discussed in closed agenda. Would someone like to make a motion?
I move that all personnel recommendations be approved as presented by administration.
Do I have a second? Ms. Cox, seconds. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Chief Communications Officer Amanda Brim will now share with us this month's recognitions and student spotlight.
The Association of Energy Engineers has awarded Lewisville ISD the 2019 Institutional Energy Management Program of the Year Award. In 2008, the district formed an energy management team, which since then has helped the district reduce its energy by 22%, saving LISD more than $20 million. The district spans over 127 square miles, has more than 100 facilities, and 9.7 million square feet of conditioned space. To date, LISD has earned Energy Star certification awards for 63 schools, making it one of the top 3 energy-efficient school districts in the state of Texas. Special thanks to the district's Facility Service Department for their hard work and commitment to resource stewardship for the LISD community. LISD is proud of you.
Thank you. I am Jason Hughes. I'm the Executive Director of Facility Services and Construction. And I would like to thank Dr. Rogers and the Board of Trustees for the support of our program. And also my team here, a lot of our team, and not all of them could be here, but this is a big portion of our energy management team. They work tirelessly in the background and take care of our schools. And we would not have the comfortable spaces that we have if it weren't for this team. And so we're thrilled to win this award. I'd like to introduce them. This is Sean Barr. He's our Director of Maintenance. Junior Deming is our Energy Management Lead. And then our Airmark team consists of Jeremy Nelson, Brian Birch, Anthony Scapara, and Nanzo Agaloo.
Persons desiring to address the Board of Trustees must fill out a speaker's card. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. The Board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda. We have several speakers tonight I know signed up tonight to speak about middle school orchestra. I want to thank all of y'all for coming out to share your thoughts with us. Please know, as I mentioned earlier, the Board may not discuss or take action on any item not on the agenda. For that reason, the Board will not be able to respond to your questions or your comments tonight. I want to assure you, however, an LISD administrator will reach out to each of you over the course of the next week to address your questions or comments. And first up to speak, we have Christopher Alspaugh. And if I say your name wrong, would you tell me your name when you go to speak at the podium? Thank you.
Yes, Christopher Alspaugh. Orchestra has been a large part of my life. I've been in orchestra since 6th grade, which, due to my asthma, was unable to participate in choir or band. Ever since I joined orchestra, I felt as though we've been considered a little bit lesser than the other fine arts programs. Some examples are we weren't listed on field trip forms, and we weren't on my sophomore year class list of classes to sign up for. Overall, I fear that the consolidation program addressed that the board has announced will hurt the orchestra program's health. While the program does provide automatic transfer for students that wish to participate in orchestra, I fear that the advertisement of orchestra to feeder elementary schools will be reduced in comparison to the other fine arts. I'd like